A few days ago, Indian politician and the national spokesperson for Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, Nupur Sharma allegedly made a few offensive comments about Prophet Muhammad, for which she was slammed by many Islamic countries. Now, this comes right at the time when there are crucial meetings in the Middle East or West Asia, as we call it in India, and Nupur Sharma has been suspended from the primary membership of the party. Now, while a lot of Indians are also browbeating and exposing their double standards on this issue, there is a rare gentleman all the way from Europe and Netherlands who's actually expressed his support for Nupur Sharma. I'm talking none other than Mr. Geert Wilders, the Dutch member of parliament and the founder of Party for Freedom. Sir, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be on your program, really.
How are you and how are things in Amsterdam as of now?
Well, I'm actually in The Hague, where our parliament is seated. And it's a normal parliamentary day on Thursday, but I'm very happy to join your show and speak out in support of the brave Nupur Sharma, because I really believe that she said nothing wrong. She spoke the truth. You just said that she made some offensive remarks, and I saw the short television report of what she said. And unfortunately, that was nothing but the truth. She spoke about Muhammad and how he married and consummated a marriage with Aisha, a young girl of 9 years old, and that happened. I mean, it's in the Hadith. She was speaking the truth, and we might not like the truth, but it's still the truth. And I think it's very unfair for so many people, especially outside of India and nations that have the worst track record themselves when it comes to human rights, to push her and to threaten her. I mean, she's threatened to be killed and for speaking the truth. And I really have to stand up and support her because I experienced it myself some years ago. I'm living in the government safe houses for 14 years now because I also criticize Islam. And I see here this brave young politician in India having the same prospects. And we should stand up and support her.
And in fact, many of the Islamic reformers themselves are targeted. So it's not just Hindus or the Jews or Christians who are targeted for actually speaking up against the sort of, injustice that happens in the society over there. And in fact, what many people are right now pointing out is the double standards, which again you spoke of.
Yes.
And it's really funny when you see a lot of these countries being represented and being the chairs of human rights commissions on international forums.
Yes, we have really, like in the United Nations, you have this Human Rights Commission where the worst offenders of human rights are not only chairing but being a member of those committees, and you cannot take that seriously. You know, it's they are, as I told you before, they are the worst hypocrites in the world. You know, if you are a Hindu or a Christian or a Jew, or if you are a gay person or whatsoever, if you don't subscribe to the Islamic ideology, you have the worst time ever. You will be persecuted, you will be jailed, you could even be killed in Saudi Arabia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, and many other countries around you. And they are now criticizing India for a politician who spoke the truth. This is really the world upside down. They should be criticized for what they are doing, and you should be applauded. You are one of the few, if not the only one, together with Israel. You are the only real democracy in the whole region, from Pakistan to Saudi Arabia, from Qatar to any other country in that region. India is the only country with a rule of law, with a parliament that can send a prime minister home, with freedom and freedom of speech. So be proud of that. You are a country to be proud of, and tell the countries that don't have that and criticize you, tell them to go to hell. This is the only way. You have to talk tough to them, otherwise they will not understand.
Absolutely. And don't you think some of these countries are also very silent when it comes to the human rights violations happening in countries like China, where Muslims are being persecuted, and nobody even beats an eye?
Well, that's the hypocrisy. They are not only silent when it comes to China, but they are more especially silent when it comes to what is happening in their own countries. You know, all those countries are a member of what we call the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Conference, and they have a treaty, a declaration. It's called the Declaration of Cairo of Human Rights, and it really states, I believe it's in Article 25 of that Cairo Declaration, that human rights are limited to Sharia law. This is what they believe that human rights are. So you have to comply to Sharia law, and we all know that our values are a lot better, to be honest, than Sharia law. Sharia law is barbaric law, and people are killed if they don't subscribe to what is Sharia law. There is no equality for men or women or whatsoever. It's barbaric law, and they subscribe to that, and they should be silent and speaking to themselves rather than trying to take a lesson to India.
Mr. Wilders, I saw a few earlier interviews of yours, which where you have spoken to Indian publications, and
Yes.
you said that India should not compromise its freedom for any economic benefits. Could you please elaborate on that? Because I think you bring up a very important point, and a lot of people are appreciating what you just said.
Yes, this also happened in Holland when I made a short documentary about the Quran some years ago, and I criticized the values, not the people. I have nothing against Muslims, but the values of the ideology of Islam. Saudi Arabia threatened with a boycott, and the Dutch foreign minister went, and I'm the opposition leader, so I'm not in government, went to Saudi Arabia and excused themselves for us, being afraid of the impact for the economy. And I told them, well, you are selling out your values. The one thing that distinguishes us from totalitarian nations, like most of the Arab and Islamic nations are, is that we have freedom, that we have freedom of speech. If you throw it away because of economical reasons, there will be no end. If you start appeasement, they will continue until there is nothing left of our democracy and our values. And we have the rule of law. The Netherlands and India are democracies, as I said, and have a rule of law. There is only one institution in the rule of law that can correct a person if he oversteps the mark, and those are the courts. We have courts in India. We have courts in Holland. There should not be a prime minister or minister of foreign affairs who corrects a person who did not did something against the law and just spoke the truth. So stand up. What is freedom is worth so much more than economy. Of course, economy is very important. We all need economical growth. We need jobs. We need everything. So of course you have to take that into account. But I tell you, what do we have on the economy if we have no freedom left? So fight for freedom, which is more important than anything else, because a good economy is worth nothing if we are unfree.
I don't know if there are such people in Europe, but basically, yesterday, after you put out your statement of support for Nupur Sharma, there were far left activists in India who actually were raising countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And the irony is that most of these activists are LGBTQ activists, where
Yeah.
there is absolutely no freedom or gay rights in most of the Middle East.
Yes, that's. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of the Stockholm syndrome. The Stockholm syndrome is a syndrome that where people, and it's very hard to understand, who are threatened by someone or captured, that they start loving them, even though they have no reason to do that. Because, as you rightfully said, even to be gay or LGBT or whatever in most of the countries is impossible. You have the penalty of death. Homosexuals are being persecuted and sometimes killed just for the mere fact that they are a homosexual. So they should criticize those countries and stand up for the LGBT persons in Saudi Arabia and Iran. And you don't support them by telling them that those are great countries. You support them by telling them that they should change their values and make them more equal than anybody else.
Even Europe has faced a lot of devastating attacks by Islamist terror organizations. And I think India was trying to make that heard. Even Israel has been complaining about it for a very long time. But until the West themselves faced the Islamist terror, they did not see this coming. Until the refugee crisis happened, they did not see this coming. But regardless, I think there is an awakening even in the Western civilization today. They see what the threats are. So, how do you think Europe and in particular the Netherlands has resisted so far, especially because people like you have spoken up against radical Islam? And what would your message to Indians who are afraid to speak up be?
Well, first, it's understandable if people are afraid. You know, if you are threatened by your life, or if there are terrorists who want to kill your family, I understand that people are afraid. But you should stick together. That's why I say support Nupur Sharma. She's in trouble now. You can be in trouble tomorrow. And you like people to stand together. I believe that India is a very strong nation. I consider myself a friend of India and rally around her. I don't understand why. Where are the politicians in India that support her? I haven't heard any of them. And it's about your values. Now about Europe. Well, indeed, we have a lot of bad experiences with Islamic extremism and terrorism. And I don't believe we are handling it in a very correct way, because we are opening our borders. You know, the biggest problem that Europe faces today is called cultural relativism. We have no idea, at least the governments have no idea what the identity of the people are. Their aim is to get rid of an identity, to get in a supranational institution called the European Union. They want to get rid of the nation states. And I believe that to have an identity, you need a nation state. You need to rally around a national flag. You have to need and have a national identity. And then you know what your values are, you know. And we lost the sense of values. We have mass immigration. People are flooding into our countries from anywhere in the world, also from the Islamic nations. And we don't tell them enough that our values, that our constitution, that our democracy is how we want to live. And if you want to abide by that, you could be welcome. But if you are not, you should leave, and you are not welcome in our societies. And the leaders of most of the European nations are cultural relativists. So unfortunately, the people are getting awake. You are correct about that. But we are far, far away, and we will face far more problems because of this mass immigrations combined with politicians who are cultural relativists.
You know, you've faced a lot of death threats because of the kind of work that you've done, because of the kind of work that you've produced
Yeah.
even a few years ago. But you are very persistent with it, and you're somebody who never gives up. You know, what makes that drive, towards this cause? And in
Yeah.
fact, what would be your message to other people who are actually doing the same?
Well, indeed, for 17 years now, almost 18 years, I had to leave my home with my wife. We lived in safe houses and army barracks and prison cells just to be safe. And my only thing I did was speaking out in favor of freedom and criticizing the Islamic ideology, not the people once again, but the ideology. And I continue because I believe that if I would stop, or if I would moderate my voice, the people who are not using democratical means would win. So the people who threaten to kill you or to boycott your country, who use means that are not part of our rule of law and our democracy, they would win if I would shut up, or if I would not speak or moderate my voice. So I tell other people, if it's possible, stand up, be strong, support one another, and never give in, because they will never stop. And at the end of the day, you will give in to people who have one aim, and that is to get your country unfree. And that is what we should not do. So this is my message to all the heroes and people in India. India has the best values in the region. India is the only democracy in the region. Pakistan, Iran, they are all non-democratic entities, full of, not all of them, but full of terrorism. Stand up, be proud of who you are, support one another, and always keep telling the truth.
Thank you so much for your kind words. But before we sign off, Mr.
Yeah.
Wilders, what you consider yourself a friend of India, and I think
Yes.
you've overshot your popularity in India just with one tweet, and I'm sure this is just the beginning of many things to come. So, what would your message to Indians and Prime Minister Narendra Modi be?
Well, I have a lot of respect for India and for your prime minister. And who am I? I'm a leader of the opposition in the parliament of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. So who am I to criticize Prime Minister Modi? So I will not criticize him. But I could tell you, if I may, what I would do if I was a president, or if I would be the Prime Minister of India. I'm not, of course, I'm simple parliamentarian in the Netherlands. But if I would be the prime minister, I would speak out. I would speak out in favor of everybody who is criticizing and speaking the truth about Islam. I would do that immediately. I would speak out in favor of Nupur Sharma. I would say that she is one of us. And I would tell all the countries and all the radicals who ask me to apologize. I would tell them to go to hell, to make sure that your own country is in order before criticizing us. I would stand. She's one of you. She's even one of his party. Don't leave her alone. She needs your support today. And if it's not for her, it's for freedom, it's for your values. And let's make sure that the proud state of India will keep a proud, strong state, support her. That's what I would do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilders, for giving us your time and joining us today.
My pleasure.
I hope we can have this conversation some other time too, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for more such conversations in the future.
I look forward to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Viewers, please do subscribe to Swarajya. This is Sharan Setty signing off, and please do let us know what you thought about this interview in the comment section.